had never seen anything like that. It was the most horrible scene I've ever seen was on the top of the beach on D-Day. My name is Clem Eigel. I was born on May the 1st, 1924. We were in the 110th AAA Battalion. And what they said to us, they said, "You are the invasion force. We expect about 80% casualties." He says, "Look at the guy next to you." He said, "One of you, the two of you are not coming back." What? 18 years old and they tell me, one of the two of you are not coming back. We thought, oh, we got it made. We're gonna be in the back and just fire at airplanes. Well, we had never fired at ground targets, but we started that day. That was all brand new to us. We hadn't been trained for that. But, you know, war is hell, and it is not a precise science. You don't know what's going to happen or who's going to tell you what. We had to get to the top over this beach that day. And we got up on top, and it was horrible.
The name is Donald J. Green, a native St. Louisan. I was drafted just after high school at the age of 18. I was a survivor of the Battle of the Bulge, and if anyone is interested, that was the largest battle the U.S. Army ever fought. Started on 16 December, but for all intent and purposes, it was over by Christmas. Christmas Eve was one of those days. We hadn't seen the sun since before Thanksgiving, and it turned out you didn't have to look up to see that it was going to be a clear day. You could hear it. Now, how do you hear a clear day? Thousands of airplanes. It was the first day they were able to fully fly. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And what made this an unusual day, the lead airplane, each flight had an observer or navigator. And in that navigator's cockpit was another man whose sole purpose was to dispense tinfoil, foil out the window to jam the Germans' radar. And here's these huge, gorgeous 40, 50-foot pine trees, snow everywhere, crystal ice on top of the snow. And what do you have on the trees? All those strips of tinfoil and the sun glistening on them. It was really a pastoral scene. It was really something to observe. But then the Germans woke up. They thought it was pretty, but not that pretty. So they started up again. During the battle, we fought two enemies, the bitter cold and the German army. And to this day, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I can still feel my feet tingle from being frostbitten.
My name is Pearl KRAMER, and I'm 95 years old. I ended up in Brooklyn, New York on Flatbush Avenue at Floyd Bennett Airfield, where they have just fighter planes, the two-seaters. And that was where I was stationed for the 3 years that I was there. I was a Specialist S first class. It put me in charge of the Waves Barracks, and we had about 100 girls there. Next door to us, where we were stationed on Flatbush Avenue, there was a Breezy Point swim club. And it was a private club. And they had a rule, no Jews and no blacks. Well, I'm accustomed as a Jew of knowing there were plenty of places that we couldn't go. And I just thought it was terrible when people are giving their life in the service, the boys I was referring to, and that they should not be allowed. And then finally one day, it got to the point where I decided that the fellows who were at the base, guarding the base, told us that Mrs. Roosevelt used to come to visit the skipper there because he used to be a police officer for her husband. So I decided I wasn't going to go and write to the president, but I wrote to Mrs. Roosevelt. And within 5 days, word came down, no one on the base could go to that swim club anymore, no matter what. And everyone was asking why they couldn't go, and I didn't say a word. But she took care of it, and that was my accomplishment.